Okay, I want everyone to know that I'm fine. The Jesuits are not able to clone me because the Catherine the Great and King David genetic profile is resistant to their cloning technology. They have not been successful in creating a clone of me that has lived longer than a week. So usually that's about as long as they last, and then they're gone. They self-destruct. Apparently, because Jesus Christ has the King David genes, anybody who has King David genes cannot be cloned. So they can clone just about everybody else. So I'm fine. And also, Jesus Christ has ordered me to go out and walk every day. And if I was seriously in danger of assassination, he wouldn't give me an order like that. And I trust Jesus that he will protect me when I obey him. So I'm not worried about being assassinated. And let's go on to the subject of clones. This is something that my next book is going to be going very deep into. Clones do exist. They were created by the UFOs, and they also exist. In fact, I've believed in the existence of UFOs after I used to be a very strong King James only believer, and I listened to Dr. Peter Ruckman's cassette tapes on UFOs. He's actually seen them flying in the skies. He can observe the patterns of what looks like a star out there. And if you see a star like going boop, 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 he says that's a UFO. And he's seen them. I haven't, but he has, and I don't think he's lying about that. And other people have seen them. And people have been abducted by them. There's evidence. It's been covered up. The U.S. Air Force has chased them down. They exist. People have been abducted by them. One thing that's very interesting with abductions by UFOs is their obsession with human sexuality. And you can tell that they're Satan's fallen angels because and I've been doing this research into what makes a Jesuit tick because I've got Rule 13 as a main character. Part of Satan worship is the worship of sexuality. They see sexuality as the life force which helps the human to evolve towards godhood. And that's all part of Satan worship. And the Roman Catholic Church was founded when Constantine declared to the world, and this is back in history, he said, I see a cross in the sky. He said he saw a cross in the sky. And the Roman Catholic Church came into existence after that. He claimed that God gave him a vision, and that's what happened when the church was first started with the apostles, the Apostle Paul. They were very persecuted. A lot of them died in the arena. They got eaten by lions. They got thrown to the lions. And what Satan discovered was instead of weakening the church, this strengthened the church, because the martyrs would die singing hymns, and people would look at that and think, wow, this courage, where are they getting it from? And it ended up making more Christians instead of less Christians. So Satan changed his strategy, and he decided, you know what, instead of persecuting these believers, let's see if we can infiltrate and corrupt the church. And so what he did was he married the church to the world system, which is run by Satan under God's permissive will, and that created the Catholic Church. It's never been God's will for the church to be involved in, for the Gentile church to be a political organization, which is what the Catholic Church is. In fact, the Vatican State is considered like a separate country. The Bible says that whatsoever is of this world is of the devil right now. So anybody any church that's married itself to the world, like the Catholic Church has, is Satan's church. So what happened is when the church was first formed, they took elements of the Babylonian mystery religions, like the worship of the Virgin Mary. The worship of the Virgin Mary was based on the worship of a sun god. It came out of Baal worship. And this was Satan's clever way of creating his church and making it appear to be the true church of Christ. Now, since Satan is the prince of the power of the air, and he's in charge of this world right now, he's married his church to the world, and she's very interested in politics and in gaining total world control. That's been the goal of the Catholic Church for as long as she's existed, which explains the Dark Ages, the Inquisitions, the killing off of the Jews. The only Jews who survived in the Dark Ages were the ones who became Catholics at the risk of their lives. They could be burned at the stake if they wouldn't. And you say, why is the Catholic Church obsessed with Jews? Well, they call them the Christ killers. But there's another reason. Satan hates the Jewish race because from the Jewish race comes the Bible. And Satan hates the Bible. And from the Bible come the prophecies that predict that Satan will be defeated and that the Jewish nation God will use that nation to establish his millennial 1,000-year reign. The Catholic Church believes that they're reigning right now. They don't think the millennial reign is future. They think they're reigning right now and that their job is to conquer the world for their kingdom, which is reigning right now, and to give it the legitimate reign it deserves. And they believe they're justified to do anything to set up that kingdom. The Jesuit army is like the militia or the military of the Catholic Church. Their job is to establish the Catholic Church as the worldwide religion and give Jesus Christ the honor he deserves. The Jews are considered the Christ killers, and according to the Catholic view, the Jewish race is cursed for that reason. But actually, it's because Satan hates the Jewish race. So their goal is the annihilation of the Jewish race. They tried to do it with Hitler. They worked behind the scenes with Adolf Hitler. And if you read Jack Chick's book, Smoke Screens, it will go into that. Hitler was a devout Roman Catholic. And he was following orders from Pope Pius XII and the Jesuit general at that time. And they ordered him to put the Jews into the concentration camps and to try to annihilate the Jewish race and use Nazi Germany to take over the world for Roman Catholicism. He was a devout Roman Catholic, and in Jack Chick's books, they have actual photographs of Adolf Hitler meeting with top cardinals and bishops in the Catholic Church as they discussed using him to take over the world for the Catholic Church. When the Catholic Church realized that Germany was losing the war, they jumped out the window, covered their butts. I think they actually stole some Jews and brought them to Italy and made it look like they were protecting Jews from the concentration camps, and to create the false impression that they did not secretly finance and sponsor the Nazi Germany. They withdrew their money from Germany when they realized Germany was losing the war, and they kind of played this game. They convinced Roosevelt, or I think it was Truman, Truman, that they were against the Nazi war machine. They're just so clever. Anyways, the Catholic Church is Satan's bride. My next book's going to be showing how and why that came about, is from the perspective of the fallen angels and how Satan got involved in the creation of the Catholic Church to counterfeit the true Church of Christ. Revelation 17 and 18, those chapters in the Bible are about the great whore, which is the Catholic Church. She sits on 7 hills, like the 7 hills of Rome. Her official colors are gold, scarlet, purple, the official colors of, I believe it's the Vatican. That's when you read. And the Bible says she's guilty of the blood of all the murders that have taken place on earth. So that's Satan's bride. And the Bible describes her that way. The UFOs are Satan's fallen angels. They're the reason that there's stories of Catherine the Great having sex with a stallion. That was her clone, Jesus told us. That was a clone of Catherine the Great. They're able to clone Catherine the Great, but they can't clone my King David side, so they haven't been able to clone me. Brent Spiner himself was abducted by a UFO, and that's how I was able to lead him to Christ. I figured out, I was so distressed when he was in the UFO. We were in the execution chambers, executing the Laurie McBride clones. And you can actually see evidence of clones if you listen to Terrance Jenkins' YouTube channel. It's really freaky. Like, one of the clones started murdering people in the courtroom. She was setting them on fire and murdering them, and they died. So they had to shoot her to death right there in the courtroom. And you could actually hear her dying. It was the demon inside her keeping her alive, giving her supernatural strength as she was going down. It was really spooky. And then the Jesuit lawyer came and said, we want Laurie's clone number 5 to replace the one that just died. And they continued the trial with clone number 5. And then clone number 5 was able to rape Brent Spiner right during the trial using the Brent Spiner clone. And at that time, we didn't realize that the Jesuits were cloning Jewish people. We thought they weren't. But they had a clone. They had a clone of Brent Spiner for years, and that's who the real Laurie McBride is. Laurie or one of her clones is married to a Brent Spiner clone. And he ended up getting executed because the real Brent and his clone started battling each other in September 2011 while the clone was trying to kill off the real Brent Spiner. My next book's going to be going into this in much more detail, showing how the UFOs were involved in this. So you'll be seeing the same scenes that you read about in part 1, but seeing it from the perspective of the UFOs, the clones, Satan, and Jesus, and how they were all working. I'm going to show the behind-the-scenes stuff. Show the UFOs involved and how they used clones to attack Brent Spiner and force him to get Laurie McBride as his girlfriend. And Vladimir Putin's clone has appeared in public with the Ludmila clone. The Jesuits learned their cloning technology from the UFOs. Like I said, the Nukaki did happen in Canada. That was an attempt by the Jesuits to murder all my men because they were all in one spot in Quebec. So they hit a Nukaki. At this time, we didn't even know they had this technology. And that technology has also been learned from the UFOs. My next book will be going more into detail on that. And you may say, why doesn't Jesus stop it? Well, he has interfered with some of the attacks. They have tried to do a blitzkrieg of Nukakis in the world, and sometimes Jesus will interfere. But if he interferes too much, especially if it's related to me, then that would give Satan permission to make a personal appearance to me and to try to trick me. And Satan's pretty good, so Jesus doesn't want that to happen. So he's basically trying to let me and my men do things pretty much on our own, and he only interferes when he has to. When if he doesn't, it's going to cause Satan to have a super big victory. But I have actually dealt with Satan one-on-one when he appeared at Church of Gail at a Valentine's service in 2012. And then he tricked me and made love to me through Zack as the Antichrist, and Jesus had to abort all the babies. Like I said, my next books are going to be going into this. You're going to see all the behind-the-scenes stuff. But UFOs do exist. The Nukaki did hit Canada. They erased the memories from the Canadians so they don't remember it. They're able to clone the entire internet so that they can steal my writing proceeds. The clone versions funnels all the money to a Jesuit bank. And so that when you go on the internet, you don't know what version you're looking at. It's Satan invented electricity and the computer. I'll be going into that in my book. And that's why he's able to give his technology to the Jesuits. Zack Knight's a computer genius. He gets all of his technology information from UFOs. UFOs are obviously, they invented clones. They invented the Nukaki. They are behind electricity. And anything that has to do with that, they're masters at it. And they can use it to their ends. My next book will be going into that.